sweep play to Mark Ingram? A sweep to Ingram, really? And he scores a touchdown. If that comes back, if Willie Snead, of all people, is throwing 50-yard flea flickers to Tim Hightower, oh, my God, you're a defensive coordinator. You just throw your pad and pin in the air because you can't defend that. If that guy comes back, we got a chance.
I have never been, in the last 4 years, more proud of Sean Payton than I was this Sunday. And yes, seeing it live and up close, you could feel it. You could watch him on the sideline, and you could just see it. That was Sean Payton. Yeah. That wasn't the guy who's dating, the former Miss West Virginia. That wasn't the guy who wants to take it to the Greenbrier so he can, have a laid-back atmosphere. That was ignorant Sean Payton. That's who that was. That was the Sean Payton that would basically dare you to stop his offense. And as you pointed out so eloquently, that's the Sean Payton from 2009. That's the Sean Payton from 2011. That's the Sean Payton we saw that was up against the Giants and kept pouring it on. The Sean Payton that was up against Bill Parcells and watched Bill Parcells tap out.
Yeah.
That's who that was. That's the guy that ran up the score on Atlanta because he doesn't like him. That was that Sean Payton. And that is the Sean Payton we need to see a hell of a lot more often. If that Sean Payton is back, there's no telling what this team can do because he's the type of aggressive play caller that will make his team play like that. I'm not joking when I say this. The Lion King theme song came on, and Sean Payton went absolutely bonkers on the sideline. The Lion King.
Oh, God, you got to find video of that, man. I need a gift for that. Oh.
It's already out there. I believe NFL Retweet put it out there. It's the one where he has his fist raised and he's kind of doing like the little one-legged kick, and then he kind of high-fives Jerry's bird. At that given time, the Lion King theme music comes on, like when the whatever the hell that is.
Yeah.
Whatever that is what Sean Payton was doing that to. He went absolutely bonkers, and everyone on that side of the stadium went bonkers because they showed Sean Payton going. I mean, he was absolutely into it, and that right there is the difference. Now, after the game, they made fun of him for it, but if he's that jacked up, it's not like they played a hip hop song, like a stand up and get crunk or anything like that, or turn down. No, it was the freaking Lion King theme song. And your coach goes absolutely nuts if that Sean Payton shows up on the sideline. This team can go. I mean, playoffs won't even be the tip of the iceberg.
Look, I mean, I think what's obviously been missing, we critique the offense, we critique the defense, and we've done it for years. But we've always admitted that the potential for success is there. I mean, how can you not succeed with Drew Brees? I mean, I love Brandon Cooks, Michael Thomas, Willie Snead. I really do believe that they're the best wide receivers that we had as a group, probably ever in New Orleans Saints history. But you could take all three of those guys away and put me, Hugh, and Kyle Mosley out there, and Drew Brees would still make plays because he is that quality of a quarterback. And I say that to say this. There's no reason that a Drew Brees shouldn't be in the playoffs every year unless there's a deficiency in the coaching level. And I'm really not trying to knock him, but let's be honest, that's the truth. That's why the Tom Brady makes the playoffs every year. That's why the Peyton Manning makes the playoffs every year. It's the same argument for another team in New Orleans. There is no legitimate reason why an Anthony Davis-led team shouldn't be in the playoffs. They might only be the 8th seed, but they deserve to be in because of that quality of player. And what we've really lacked is the creative play calling. Because for how long has it been that guys like me and you and the average Twitter watcher can be like, well, right here, Sean Payton's going to try to do that whole toss it to the fullback to try to get into the end zone from the 3-yard line on third down. We know what's coming. Or, Drew Brees is going to try to do a snap count here and draw them off sides on third down. Obviously, they're not going to fall for it anymore because we've done it for 10 years. Stuff like that, predictable. When's the last time we saw a flea flicker to the wide receiver? When's the last time we've seen all these jet sweeps? I'll tell you when. The last time you saw the Saints run a jet sweep before Brandon Cooks came in was Devery Henderson and Reggie Bush. Guess what else happened back in that time? A Super Bowl. The creativity juices are there, if they can come back consistently, I mean, this is a team that we talk about being perennial playoff team again, because I don't care what people say. I'm going to rattle off these stats, and you name me another quarterback at this age who's able to produce these stats who's going to just leave and retire. I'm going to go ahead and give you the whole kit and caboodle of them. So be ready. 71.5% completion percentage. That's what Drew Brees is throwing right now, which, let's go ahead and ding this up, is an NFL record should the season end today. Not only is it an NFL record, he would hold 4 of the top 6 passing seasons in terms of completion. Oh, but the guy's old, washed up, ain't got an arm. 3,587 yards. Yes, that's 3,587 yards. 30 touchdowns. He's on pace for 44 touchdowns. Not a single quarterback in the NFL is on pace to even hit 40. He's going to get 40 and a half. He's throwing at the lowest interception percentage he has in his career. He's literally having the best season ever. And yet people are talking about he's going to be gone after next year. If he plays like this, Sean Payton's got his mojo back. These young core of players can be in the playoffs this year, next year, and the year after. Very, very, very plausible.
Let's further and say this. It bothers me. To my absolute core, it bothers me that Drew Brees is not considered or even talked about for MVP consideration.
Yeah.
How do you have a guy putting up those numbers? And it's not like the same, like you said, the Cleveland Browns. It's not like they're a horrible team. Are they in the upper echelon of the NFL? No, but they're right on the cusp. So how can you have a guy putting up those type of numbers and not even get a mention in the MVP race? It just bothers me that it is that way. Now I understand that everybody has their little love affair with Dallas, and if Dak Prescott or Ezekiel Elliott ends up the MVP, you know what? Kudos to them. They've got the best record in football. But to not be mentioned in the MVP race when you think about a guy like Drew Brees and the numbers that he's putting up, it's almost laughable.
Mute.
Let me throw this out there because this is what's infuriating to me. And because I know CBS Sports, you brought this up, so I'm going to go ahead and have my little rant. CBS Sports released what they have as their quote-unquote leaderboard for MVP of the year. I'm going to rattle off some names, and you tell me if you agree. Number 1, Tom Brady. Yeah, the guy who missed 4 games this year apparently is the best player in the NFL. Derek Carr, which me and you have discussed. Derek Carr is Drew Brees 2.0, but he's not there yet. How is he number 2 in the rankings? Have you seen his stats? He's not ready for that. Ezekiel Elliott, maybe the best back in the NFL, running behind the best O-line in the NFC. I can see that argument. I certainly love it when quarterbacks don't win the MVP, so I'm not going to knock them for that. But here's the one that makes me mad. I realize that they're a winning team. I realize they're on top of the division, but this infuriates me. Number 4 on CBS Sports leaderboard for the MVP is Matt Ice Ryan. You're telling me that Matty Ice, the guy who's never won anything, still not winning anything right now, is better than Drew Brees. The guy's not on pace to hit 40 touchdowns. The guy's not on pace to throw 5,500 yards. He's not on pace for any of that, but he's better than Drew Brees because he has more wins or his defense hasn't been littered by a dozen injured reserve players. No, I'm sorry. That ain't how it is. They finish off the list with this. Get this. This is laughable. Dak Prescott's not laughable. He's Rookie of the Year. Russell Wilson, come on, we're living on name only. But number 7 is Matthew frickin' Stafford. Matthew Stafford is better than Drew Brees, according to CBS Sports. Seriously, guys, this is getting ridiculous. I have no words.
Russell Wilson.
Oh, I'm sorry, I had to go off. That was, man.
Hey, Rev, this is Kyle.
Hey, Kyle. Yeah, go ahead, give it to me.
Hey, man, I totally agree with you guys. By the way, thank you for letting me say something. And if I sound a little bad, it's because I'm sick, guys. So how you doing, Brian?
Can't complain, my brother. I want you to get well soon, though.
Thank you, man. Thank you. But Professor and I have been having that same argument there. The main reason the NFL, especially the national media, quote unquote, really wants a Tom Brady up there, and you still, if Aaron Rodgers was still winning, if his team was winning, he would already be mentioned possibly neck and neck with Tom Brady, right? They have their favorites. They have their preferences. And Drew Brees, unfortunately, is not going to be their preference. The only way Drew Brees is going to win or even get consideration is that if the Saints as a team win out and make it to the playoffs. And still, it will be more heavily in favor of Tom Brady. Okay? I was home on Monday morning and I watched NFL Network, right? In the morning. And I'm waiting for the Saints-Rams videos, right? They're going to give us some highlights. They're going to give us some, we really put up the numbers. They ran the Houston Texans game. They ran the Kansas City game. They ran everybody else twice or three times, and they only put the Saints game up once in over an hour. There's preferences against the New Orleans Saints that the New Orleans, but the National Football League, even inside of those media rooms, are against the New Orleans Saints. And until the Saints get back to being consistent in winning, you're never going to hear that conversation come out of their mouths. You're not going to hear these guys on these shows talk about Drew Brees the way he needs to be spoken of.
Yeah, and it's frustrating to me, and I realize that we're biased. If we were to say, all three of us, if we were to say that we're not biased, we'd be lying.
Right.
We can't say that. But honestly, if you took a neutral party and looked at it from a stats basis, Drew Brees is a top 3 NFL history quarterback. It's sad that he's never won or even legitimately been considered for an MVP. He should have won the MVP back in 2011. Probably should have won it in 2009.
Right.
And he's lost to Aaron Rodgers, who would have a great season. He ended up setting the NFL record for QBR and rating, if I remember right. So he had a great season. It's not like Drew didn't have a good season, but Drew would beat those guys in terms of yards and touchdowns and completion percentage. And Peyton Manning would win on his name alone that year that he beat out Brees, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. It's sad that a guy like that who, when you look at him, the stats that he's put up, he hasn't played the Peyton Manning or Brett Favre number of years and is still putting up those better stats. It's sad to me that he's not even really considered. That's what's frustrating. At least put the guy's name in a hat. He deserves to have one MVP under his belt.
Yeah,
because statistically, he is one of the top 3 quarterbacks to have ever played this game.
Well, and not only that, he's consistently proven that he's a top quarterback, not only by the stats, but by his leadership. And we kind of forget that that season that these guys went 13-3 and won the Super Bowl, who did he beat? He beat Tom Brady. He beat Matty Ice. He beat Romo. They lost to Romo that season. And he also beat Kurt Warner. He beat Brett Favre. And he beat the reigning MVP in Peyton Manning. Right?
Yeah.
But still, they didn't want to give him credit. They only gave him the NFL, the most outstanding offensive player of the year. So
yeah. And like I said, that I'm not trying to tarnish that trophy. That award has its merits, but it's kind of like let's just say in the example of the Dak Prescott or the Zeke, you've got to give one of them the backup award. But it would be like if I took, because me personally, I think that Ezekiel Elliott is higher on that scale, in my opinion, than Dak Prescott, because Dak Prescott leans on the fact that he has probably the best O-line in his conference. He has an elite wide receiver, an all-pro tight end, and probably the best running back in the NFL right now, whereas Zeke doesn't have that many things to fall back on. So I would put the running back above the quarterback. And that's kind of how I feel it is if we were to give that award to the quarterback simply because we value quarterbacks higher, that's how I feel Drew Brees has been treated. because Peyton Manning's name value is worth more, we're going to give him the award